right, guys. Hey, how you doing? It's Nate Rio here from Nate Rio Interviews, and in this episode, we have a good friend of mine. His name is Nick Pratt, and Nick is an online and affiliate marketer who's over in the UK, outside of London, city outside of London over there. And I've known Nick now for about 7 months. We spent a lot of time talking on the phone. We've done a few interviews, done some inspiration calls with him. And Nick has, I've pretty much seen him grow his business from just under six figures over the first couple years of his business. And then now in the past 6 months, he's doubled that. So he's hitting that tipping point right now where his online sales are rapidly increasing. And it's pretty cool to watch because, for instance, just recently we had a launch for a product. And, you know, Nick is really good at SEO. So one of the things he'll always do is he'll get some content put out right away, copy of videos on YouTube, things like that. So, you know, even before the contest drops, you'll see his videos ranking up on Google right away. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the interview today. Otherwise, let's get right into it. All right, enjoy.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, welcome. This is Nate Rio, and we have a special interview today. We have none other than Mr. Nick Pratt from over in the London area in the UK, and I'll let him tell his exact location and story. And now Nick is an online marketer, affiliate marketer, has done very well in a few of his businesses, has earned over 200,000 with one of his businesses. Does a lot with the SEO and affiliate marketing, online marketing, search engine optimization, if you may. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today and see how he's grown his business. And a quick aside, when I got into this business a little bit more seriously about 7 months ago, I've had various conversations with Nick here today, and he has, I'm kind of watching him grow right before my eyes and seeing him go from maybe making a few sales a month to, basically dominating, and he's coming in, first through fifth in affiliate contests and things like that. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. So, all right, let's get him on the line. Nick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Nate. Yeah, good to be here.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, thanks for, it's great to have you today. And so yeah, let's, what I want to do, Nick, is let's kind of go back, and why don't you start off by telling me your background, your story, kind of how you got into online business, online marketing, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure thing, Nate. Well, I think I've got quite an interesting story, and I've told it at some of the events that we've done and things like that on stage.
Yeah.
But I suppose where it started for me is I'm pretty young. I'm 28 at the moment, and I came out of university at sort of the age of 21, and I'd done a business degree, and really just went straight into the job market, trying to get jobs in things like business and marketing, and it was actually very tough getting jobs at that time because we were kind of in the recession, and I did eventually, after a lot of work, I did get some jobs, and I kind of went into the corporate world, kind of using my degree, and that was kind of fine, but I got pretty burnt out, to be honest. I found it a little bit frustrating, kind of in the corporate world, in terms of I didn't really have much control over success within the businesses that I was in.
Yeah.
And at some point or other, I looked for kind of a way out of it, really, and I eventually kind of looked into setting up my own business.
Okay.
And I didn't go straight into kind of affiliate marketing or home business or anything like that. I kind of looked around me, and I noticed that search engine optimization and SEO was something that was getting quite big. So what I actually did was I did a bit of learning about that, and then I went out to kind of local businesses in my city and offered my kind of SEO services as a consultant. And this went okay for a while. I mean, I enjoyed learning about SEO, but I was finding it was a lot of kind of trading time for money, There were
Yeah.
a lot of kind of clients who didn't really, it was very kind of price competitive because SEO has become, very competitive on kind of a local level. There's lots and lots of SEO companies out there. So
For sure.
I was finding that there was a real ceiling on my income, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I drastically wanted to change business models at that point. Like I just realized I couldn't sustain that for a long time.
Sure.
So then I eventually looked at, as I'm sure we all have, I probably did a search for something like make money online or home business.
Yeah.
And I got into kind of the myriad of business opportunities and, make money programs, online systems, things like that. And, I think as a lot of us have found it, I found it very, very tough, very challenging. I had to learn a lot of new skills as well as SEO. But I did struggle with a lot of business opportunities, things like that, and obviously with the business opportunity we're part of, Mobe,
Hmm.
I've been able to get fantastic results with it,
Yeah.
from the skills I've learned really. And like you mentioned before, SEO it is one of the core skills that I've got from my kind of consultancy days, and that's something that I use to this day. And yeah, doing really well at the moment. I've been able to, like you said, be in the top 5 with some of our affiliate contests, and yeah, very happy at the moment. So that's kind of my story. Just a quick summary, really, Nate.
Yeah. Awesome. So now, yeah, I definitely want to dig into kind of the nuts and bolts, and not only for me personally, I really love, kind of what you're doing because I understand it and I've gone through all the training courses and, I've probably taken a very similar background as you, but I think a lot of, what you do and kind of your story is going to kind of resonate with people. So yeah, I'll definitely want to dig into that. But before I kind of go down that road, um, can you expand upon a little bit what how you, when you started with SEO, like what were you actually doing and how did you learn all that?
That's a good question, and I don't think, I think at events and things, people haven't really asked me that. But it's quite an interesting point because I'll say one thing about SEO, which is I do think it's complicated.
It
I
is.
do think it's frustrating even to this day. And the point is that I do paid traffic as well as SEO,
Hmm.
but I do love SEO, even if it's a bit of a kind of love-hate thing.
Right.
Um, I would say that in terms of me learning about SEO, I did read a few books. Um, I mean, I think I'll just list 2 of those books actually, if anyone's kind of interested, because I know we have a lot of marketers who, listening to this. But SEO Secrets, I can't remember who the author was, and also one called The Art of SEO. So I definitely did a lot of like training. I also There's just tons and tons of blogs out there you can read. It's similar to affiliate marketing. There's tons of free information, and I just went to the very best sources. I think Moz.com, for anyone who wants to learn SEO, I always point them to Moz.com and go into the beginner's guide to SEO. If you go through that from start to finish, it'll probably take like an hour or 2, but you'll probably know more than 90% of people about how to do SEO.
That's awesome.
So I think I basically just kind of learnt as much as I could, and then kind of went out there and sort of winged it a little bit. But you know, it's it, it's a great skill set, but it is difficult. It is frustrating, and I do believe in paid traffic as well as SEO and
Yeah.
content marketing and stuff like that.
So then you were doing, kind of, let's say, trying to be a consultant and, maybe having some minimal success. And then, at what point then did you really dive into affiliate marketing up until the point where you started promoting products like Mobe?
Yeah, so I think it was about a year and a half into the consultancy really, and I was finding that the problem with being a consultant, and I know we've kind of talked about this in our own training,
Yeah.
is that there's basically a ceiling on your income
Right.
because all you can really do if you want to have lots more clients, all you can really do is basically hire more people like yourself who are also consultants.
Sure.
So I think it is very tough to scale that kind of business, but also, the problem with something like consultancy is there's no kind of leverage, unlike something like affiliate marketing, what we've got here with Mobe.
Right.
So when I realized those things, I thought to myself, I've got to find some kind of online business model that has leverage, and I'd already heard about affiliate marketing.
Right.
So I got started with affiliate marketing and some programs that are actually, similar to Mo, but obviously, I didn't really success with. And I think I faced a lot of the roadblocks that other people have faced, really, about struggling to get traffic, struggling with conversions.
Okay.
And I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not one of these people who actually blames the program because I think there's a lot of people out there, and if they're struggling with something, they blame the program or they call it a scam
Yeah.
or something like that. And the truth is, the programs were not perfect, but I was probably, developing my skills. And I do, within the training that I give to people, I always say, if you want to make an opportunity work for you, you have got to be good at marketing. You've got to learn these skills of generating traffic, getting conversions, email marketing, video marketing, different things like that. So, these programs are obviously not as good as Mobe or what I've got now, but I think I was also, developing my skills as well.
Right. What if speaking of developing your skills, what are some of the skills that you've gone through and had to learn the past few years that you're like so grateful that you're using nowadays, like pretty much on a day-to-day basis?
I think one of them is content marketing, and when I first started with something like content marketing, which is basically, blogging, video, different things like that, I was producing all the content myself. And I think that when you start doing something like that, you have to, you haven't really got perhaps money to, hire writers or people like that to help out.
Right.
So I think I definitely got stuck in with that, with doing the content myself. Now, nowadays, it's a lot more leveraged. I've actually got writers who work for me. I've got a number of different assistants who help me with stuff like uploading YouTube videos. So I think that's one of the core skills, is getting used to producing content. And then obviously you've got to, if you are doing content marketing, you also have to do things like, you have to do the SEO process, which is building backlinks, getting social backlinks. So that is part of it. But then on the other side of the equation, I mean, that is kind of content marketing and traffic. But the other side is really, it's actually more important, which is getting good at selling. And nowadays, even though I have a lot of kind of automated traffic that comes in, I actually talk one-to-one with people on Facebook chat. I'm actually very good at making sales, through stuff like Facebook chat.
Wow. Okay.
And I actually gave some training on what I exactly do with this at the recent Platinum Mastermind in Fiji. It was the conversion summit.
Yeah. Right.
So it wasn't actually planned, but they kind of asked me to kind of come on stage and give some training on this, and I trained a lot on what I do with basically when I've got leads, what I actually say to them in order to kind of introduce them to what I've got and ultimately to sell. So that's the other side of the equation, and I'm also really into that one-to-one relationship building. I think we've chatted about this in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and feel free to say no on this because I, I know that you've done a lot of good work up this. But would you do you care to share any secrets with regard to what you've learned from conversions? Maybe some of the strategies you shared, even if it's not your best one. What do you think? Like people, where do you think people are really missing the boat with the conversions? Because I know personally that's my biggest struggle, and traffic isn't hard. I always tell the story that I can give a 12-year-old a $50 Visa gift card, get them on Bing ads right away, and get traffic going to any website right away.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not the traffic, it's the conversion. So like, what are you teaching people nowadays? Like what's working?
Well, actually, it's my belief that I think that everybody finds conversion a challenge because ultimately, in life, to get somebody to get their credit card out of their pocket and to buy something, I think that is an absolute skill. And I have good days and bad days with conversions, but ultimately I am good at it. So I am happy to share for yourself and everyone else on the call or whatever, some core things really. I think the number one thing is I learned this from Frank Kern, who's obviously Frank Kern is obviously a huge name, and for anyone listening, if you haven't heard of Frank Kern, well, you must have been living underneath a rock or something. But he's obviously he's a huge name, within the niche, within internet marketing and affiliate marketing.
Right.
One of the things I always remember about what he said was, it's basically just to be cool. He literally does say be cool, and what he means by that is, when you're doing a sales video, or if you're talking to somebody on Facebook, just try to be real with them. Don't try to be disrespectful and stuff like that, because every single day I get pitched by people on, people reply to my emails or they send a message to me on Facebook, and they have this big kind of hypey thing about how I should join their opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's desperate. It's definitely not cool. And they don't know the laws of persuasion. I don't think that if you're desperate, with something like that, you're never going to make sales. So one of the things I do is just to be cool. I've learned a lot of kind of sales strategies and things like that. So one of the things is, if I'm talking to a prospect, I'll say something like, this program that I've got for you, I don't know if it's a fit for you or not. And that kind of language is very powerful because it shows that I'm not desperate for the sale.
Yeah.
And even when I'm sending an email to my list, I actually sent an email to my list yesterday, which was basically kind of, you could say it was a pitch email. In the link, I even said, click here to check this out and see if it's a fit for you. And the point is, that kind of language is good for conversions because you're not desperate and needy like a lot of stuff out there. So that's one of the core things. And the other thing is to, obviously if you're talking to somebody one-on-one, whether it's a strategy session or somebody on Facebook or something like that, is to, you've really got to ask questions to assess the need before you offer your solution. So all these people who, they just send you this random message on Facebook telling you to join something, and they say you're gonna completely miss out if you don't join it. They just don't know what they're doing. And the point is, the stuff that I do, these kinds of scripts, it does actually work. That does actually get me sales. It works in email copy, and it also works one-to-one. So do you think that helps, Nate?
Yeah, no, that's cool. And the reason why I love having these conversations is the more I learn, and I try to stress this for all the listeners too. The more that I learn, the more you realize it's really just basic things, basic simple things that are just implemented consistently. So no, that's really good that you say that. Yeah, conversions really maybe aren't easy for everybody. It's just really understanding how they work and how to navigate the waters and to continue to hone and craft your skills. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's awesome. Now, what kind of things are you doing? Obviously, you got a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak, right now. With for those of we talked a little bit about SEO, and for those of you who don't know, one of the strategies that Nick does very well is there will be a product launch out there, and literally before it even hits the press, before the order form is live, Nick will have these video blogs,
Yeah.
these videos like already ranking on the first couple slots in Google on his blogs and right on YouTube. So now I know you're doing a lot of these techniques, but from a day-to-day strategy, let's say it's a Tuesday like it is today, and what's your strategy like I need to just start generating some leads today. Like what's kind of your go-to path for success that way?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question. I think that I have a number of things, on my kind of to-do list each day, and they're kind of when you look at them, they don't seem like big things, but they do actually, they do take a bit of effort, I suppose. But I mean, one of the obvious ones is, emailing my list is basically, I think it was about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. I was building a list and I was kind of emailing it kind of twice, emailing my audience kind of twice a week. And it was mainly because I just didn't know what to say to them. I think I've heard this from other people that, they build a list and then they think to themselves, oh no, I've got to actually email these people,
Right.
And I think a lot of people have had that frustration. Nowadays, I'm so good at emailing my list, and it generates so much more traffic. So I email my list basically 5 to 7 times a week, so a lot. And I kind of have a structure to it. So I do, I do some emails that are kind of pitching, I would suppose, but I try to do it in a cool way.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some emails where I'm literally, sending a video where I'm not selling anything at all. I have a number of different branding things, like I've got nickpratt.tv and a series called Driving with Nick Pratt as well, where I'm basically just driving around and giving some training. And a lot of the times I'll send those pieces of content. But other than that, kind of emailing my list, content marketing is something I kind of map out each week. So I map out how many blog posts are going to get done by my assistants, how many videos we're going to do, and really just checking my spreadsheets really for, if I've got videos ranking, then it's great. If they're not ranking, I need to send more. I know this is a little bit technical for some people, but sending more SEO backlinks to them and things like that. And so that's one of the core things. And then I do have a lot of people who are adding me to Facebook, so I have a kind of system for that. And what else do I do? It's mainly that, to be honest. I think the content marketing. I do also Facebook ads, so I obviously have to keep an eye on them and making sure it's all optimized. So it's really probably about 3 or 4 things that I do each day, and on paper it kind of sounds quite simple, but it actually takes more effort than what it appears, I think.
Yeah, most of the stuff we do, in this business, definitely once you start diving into it, you're like, oh yeah, writing a post sounds simple, but then, for me, it's I'm looking at, well, if I write a blog post, let's say this interview will turn into a blog post. Let's just say that, right? And then you're like,
sure.
Totally talk about this and that, and I want to reference that in the content, and then I want to link over to an offer, and I want to, edit the video. And when you start adding all that up, that can get to be pretty time consuming too, so. No.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give a bit of a kind of hack for that is when I do, I'm sure people can, they may or may not have seen, nickpratt.tv. It's like a video blog that I've got. But basically, when I do a video, I mean, I don't even upload the videos myself. What I basically do is I'll do a training video. Let's say I'm driving and I do a training video.
Yep.
And then when I get to my office or whatever, whether it's my home office or something like that, I will then do a very quick edit of the video, which will take like 5 minutes, and then I'll put that in a Dropbox folder for my assistant, and then my assistant will actually upload the video onto YouTube and my blog, and then she doesn't stop there. She then transcribes the whole thing, and then she publishes it. So really, the time is cut down a hell of a lot there, because
right.
I used to do everything. I used to basically upload it to YouTube, write all the description, the tags, then have that on my blog, and also, I'm not sure if I actually did this, but transcribe the whole thing, which would take forever.
Long time.
And when you add all that stuff up, it takes a hell of a long time. And if you can just get somebody to do most of that, and you can even have somebody who will go and share it around social media for you, or you can use various tools to automate that. But you've got to find all these little kind of hacks, I think, to just make it a lot easier on yourself.
Mm-hmm. What was that process like going through? I know you do speak highly of outsourcing, and you've kind of been dropping hints at that, whether directly or indirectly. What was the process like going through and hiring your first, hired help, so to speak?
Yeah, it's interesting because at events, people always ask me about that, because I'm always going on about outsourcing, and people, people say to me at events, they say stuff like, well, where do you actually go to hire an assistant or stuff like that? And the truth is that I actually learned through one of the Mode products. So we have one of the Mode products which is called the OPT formula.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
Other people's time formula. And I actually went through that, and it's obviously Matt Lloyd is giving the training on it, and it talks about the interviewing process. It talks about stuff like how many people you should hire, and loads of different tactics for that. And I just went through and kind of so one of the sites I use is, and I talk about this all the time in my training, is Upwork.com.
Yeah.
So I think that is kind of, I think it was like Odesk merged into Upwork or something like that.
Correct.
But Upwork is the big kind of outsourcing site at the moment. And in terms of the process, I do put a job posting up, and then I get absolutely tons of people applying for the jobs, because there's so many people out there looking for work. And then what I really do to filter it down is I simply ask them to add me to Skype, for an interview, and a lot of people won't even do that, so you're actually filtering out a lot of people just by doing that. And then the ones who do go to Skype, you can kind of ask some qualifying questions and then get on the phone with them and give them a proper interview. And then really, what is taught in the product is to, give your assistant an assignment so you can just test them that they can follow instructions.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and to be honest, through this whole process, I haven't even had any bad experiences with people. Maybe I've been lucky, but I think that there's a lot of good people out there who, they just really want some work to do. They want to do these tasks for you. They want to be a virtual assistant. So it's just a case of, putting it out there and giving them a price that you'll pay them for the work.
How are you? Are you on a contract then with your outsourcing? Because I know a lot of people have questions on that. So how do you budget that with time and allotted work? And are you committed to a certain amount of time each week or month? How does that all work?
I think I did look at originally doing it kind of hourly,
Okay.
but it kind of gets a bit difficult because it's valuing it at such a point that the person you're paying, feels kind of good enough about, that they're getting compensated for their work and that they're also putting some effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, what I tend to do is I tend to do it more project based, and my workers only really get paid when they actually do the work. So at the end of each week or every 2 weeks, there'll be a log of the amount of work that I've given them, and it will either be done or it's not done. And if a particular bit of work isn't done, then they just don't get paid for that work. But the point is, they want to do the work because otherwise they don't get paid for it. So it's all very organized, and there's no kind of long-term commitment or anything like that. So in terms of project-based, it could be something like, if I give somebody 10 articles and we're going to run it at $10 per article, then that's going to cost me $100. So they have to do those 10 articles to get their $100, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So you would recommend maybe starting on some type of like an Upwork or something like that, where you can do a project-based outsourcing, really get comfortable until you kind of see what you want, what you need, and then you can kind of scale up from there.
Yeah, Upwork, it even has a feature where your workers can actually be tracked, in terms of their screen is actually being recorded.
Yep.
to show that they're actually doing the work.
Yep.
Now, to be honest, I don't use that, and I don't have a situation where that has to be used. But I do think that's pretty good if people want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I just have people who are kind of, they're good workers and they're motivated and they just want to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't kind of have any issues with that. So yeah, I'd recommend people just, they think of something that they could do with getting rid of, a task that is a bit draining or time consuming, and just putting the job posting up, which will take like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then just see the flood of people kind of applying for it. Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, I can now I do want to kind of change directions here. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, when I got started really working in the thick of things, for a lot of you know, I worked at the MOB headquarters in Kuala Lumpur under the direction of Matt Lloyd, and got to really be in the fold in online marketing, the affiliate marketing business. And one of the cool things that I got to do, and I remember this vividly, we do this thing called MOB Inspiration, where we phone affiliates who just received a sale. And I remember calling you on, was it Christmas Eve?
It was Christmas Eve, yeah.
Yeah, and you had gotten some sales. So, at this point, or actually even to go back to fill in the blanks of the story here, at that point I remember looking at the stats and the numbers you had with this business. You had made somewhere in the vicinity of like 80, 90,000. And then now it's only 6 months later and you've pretty much doubled that.
It's crazy. I can't believe it.
Yeah. What do you think you've done in the, kind of, even if you want to go back before that, up until that point, and then up until now, how to scale, and then how things are kind of rapidly expanding here with your income, kind of parabolically, if so to speak,
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that, it is really surprising because I crossed, I think, 100,000. I think it was something like mid-January.
Yeah,
something
right.
like that.
Right.
And then it's looking like it's 200,000 plus possibly. With affiliate with the contests and that. And I think that I must admit I have become a lot more organised over the past 6 months in terms of people who reach out to me on Facebook and things that I talk to. I'm really like every single lead. I'm very I kind of don't stop until I've kind of got the sale really. In terms of, I have a lot of people who reach out to me, and what you're going to find, for anyone who's promoting Mob or another business model, you're going to find a lot of people who, they're interested in joining, and they won't end up joining till a month or two after they actually say that, because people just, they're kind of on the fence.
Right.
But I've become very, very efficient at, I've had a lot of people who have joined this year I've had people who have joined where they said they were going to join kind of the end of last year, and they've literally only just got started like in the last few months, just because I've kind of kept in touch with them. So I think that's one of the key things, and really I'm emailing my list a lot more than I used to. So, and that really does add up, because if you're constantly building your list every day and you're emailing them constantly, the number of clicks that you're generating goes up, and it kind of raises the water across all other areas of the business. So my numbers have definitely kind of, they were really, really high in the start of this year, and they've definitely kept high.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd also say that, that time, kind of Christmas and the start of the year, I would say that is kind of a boom kind of period for home business and things like that. Even though there's still a lot of interest at this time, I would say that there is a lot of interest at the beginning of the year when people are kind of wanting to put their ducks in a row and things like that.
Yeah. Do you think it's attributed to kind of goal setting and end of year? Like, what have
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, because you actually called me on Christmas Eve, and I'd picked up 2 MLR sales on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And I think that really, as a marketer, it's your job to make sure that you're always generating like enough traffic year round. But I think, when people are kind of getting ready for the new year, I think that's a big time. And I think other than that, we've also had these big affiliate contests as well, and I've kind of capitalized on them. So yeah, my business has definitely been growing a lot, and it's great to see. Yeah.
What's and you seem like you're very hands-on with a lot of what's going on behind the scenes with your metrics and stuff like that. If you were to look at, your leads right now, how much of it is coming from your paid traffic sources? And then maybe you can talk about those. And then also, how much comes from like your content marketing, things like that.
I would say that most of it does come from my content marketing.
Oh, wow.
Now, I would also say that that's quite rare, because I know that a lot of people, struggle to get traffic from Google and the search engines.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing is with me is, because when I entered the industry, that was a skill set that I'd already built up. I was able to, just have a competitive advantage. So I do get a heck of a lot of traffic from the search engines. And as part of my strategy, I've always used paid traffic basically to pour on top of that, to get even better results.
Okay.
So with paid traffic, it does go up and down for me. Sometimes I'm making an ROI, sometimes I'm not. It's not like my strongest skill set, but I do still kind of enjoy it and the rest of it. But ultimately, the thing with content marketing I do like is the actual lead quality. So the traffic that Google brings in and YouTube brings in, they are very good quality leads. Now, obviously, with Facebook ads and things, if you do it right, you can definitely do well there with conversion. But I would say that about 70% of my traffic, my traffic and leads does come from. I don't really want to call it free traffic, because obviously I do pay, for assistance and things. But
yeah, good point. That's a real good point.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, on one hand it is free, but what I do is I make it so it's kind of, I make it so that I pay money for it, because I pay, like I pay different people to send backlinks for me. I pay different people to, produce articles. So it's all kind of paid traffic, but it's not proper paid traffic, if that makes sense. Like it's not advertising.
Right. Yeah. So, and by doing that, by paying, you are essentially, jumping to the head of the line or shortening that curve, so to speak, because of, in this business, it's speed of implementation is super important. And again, we find ourselves getting bogged down in the beginning by trying to do everything and learn everything, and instead of just kind of focusing on something. So, yeah, by hiring that help, that can, especially somebody who's an expert at that, you can go on these, and hire outsourced help that already knows maybe more about it than you do. So you can say, well, this is my strategy and this is kind of my promotion strategy, but they might be able to just take the ball and run with it. And then, so that is, a good option for paid traffic as well. You're paying for free traffic to do it the right way.
Yeah, because the thing is even though with content marketing, even if you pay for it, it's still not quite as powerful as paid traffic.
Yeah.
Because with paid traffic, what you can do is at the click of a button, you can double the traffic and leads. Whereas with content marketing, you can't really do that because even if you say, I want to get 20 articles written instead of 10,
Yeah.
it still doesn't really work like that. You can't really double your traffic overnight. So I would say there's good and bad points to both. I would also say that, I wouldn't really recommend for people to do SEO or content marketing as a short-term strategy because it does take quite a bit of content to get that amount of traffic. But it's definitely very good as a long-term strategy. And even when even when I've been doing blogs and stuff, like when I used to do blog posts, writing them myself, I was still, at that time I was still doing things like solo ads. I was still doing, things like PPV. I was doing other kinds of paid traffic as well as the free stuff.
Right.
So I've never been kind of just doing the content marketing, but I obviously like having, essentially free leads come in.
What do you now kind of, where you're at, you are definitely a top earner in Mob. And again, what I tell people about you, Nick, is that you're very consistent. I see the spreadsheet
Yeah,
every
yeah.
day. Sales are coming in pretty consistently, and I think that's key. So, if you were to give some advice to somebody who's getting started right now, and because what I tell them about you is you're consistently getting sales in.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
You what are those things that someone needs to work on to just get those sales going? Because there's so many people right before that tipping point, and they just haven't gotten those sales in yet. And once they do, the floodgates are going to be open. So, what do you think is the best advice for somebody doing that?
Yeah, well, I think with me, I am definitely consistent. I think that I'm not one of these people who I'll bring in like, let's just say I'm not one of these people who will bring in 100 21-step customers in one day.
Right.
But what I'll do is I'll make sure that over the year I've brought in quite a few hundred, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not one of these people who all of a sudden has like a flash in the pan and then dies down.
Right.
I'm kind of the other end of the spectrum. And really, one of the things I'm doing each day, I'm actually always having one-to-one communication with leads. So because I do have, a lot of traffic coming in, I do have people on Facebook, on email, who just kind of reach out to my emails because, I asked them to reach out to me.
Hmm.
And I've got, I think it was somebody who said recently, somebody else in Mobe about, what was it, something about have one conversation a day or one conversation a week, something like that.
Yeah, Matt.
Um,
Matt is a proponent of that, even with all of our mentor groups that we have, where
yeah,
um, we have private Facebook, or I'm sorry, Skype chat set up for people that are doing some paid mentorships. And yeah, he holds people accountable to make sure that you're having those every day, a conversation that's basically, it's a money making activity. it's a conversation with an interested customer.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you're going to have these conversations and you're going to be a bit frustrated because you're talking to somebody who it's not a good fit for them, or they're not the right kind of person for the business, or they're not entrepreneurial. But the thing is, you have to, because all marketing is a numbers game, you have to keep having those conversations with people because eventually you're going to find people who are going to want to run with it.
Right.
So one of the things I'm doing is I'm always having conversations with one-to-one conversations either via strategy sessions or on Facebook, and not all of those conversations are pleasant because it might be somebody who doesn't want to invest more than $10.
Yeah.
Well, the point is that I make sure that I'm having those conversations. So I think that that's really important because it adds up over time. Lots of those conversations, they kind of compound, and
Right.
some of them will turn into sales and your best customers. I mean, the other thing I do is I am just so consistent with emailing my list at the moment
Mm-hmm.
in terms of because I've been on some other people's lists, um, and I hardly get any emails from them at all. And the problem is you've just got to be emailing your list a lot. And I know this is one thing that Matt recommends, but I actually send an email out to my list, and a few hours later, I then resend it to the people who haven't opened the first email. And then a few hours after that, a lot of the times I'll do a third resend.
Oh, really? So you
So
just you just segment your list by looking at your opens, and then
yeah, and you can do this in Aweber, and I mean I don't use any other ones, but
yeah.
I do this in Aweber. But
Good.
the thing is, I used to sometimes do that like twice, like I'd do one resend. But I heard from some other marketers in some other businesses, and they were saying some of them do it 3 times, and you don't have to send the email 3 times if you don't want to. But the point is, these kinds of things, if you do them every day, or let's just say 5 times a week, it it gives you that little bit of extra firepower, with your business. So I think that's one of the key things. Like each week, I'm trying to kind of get better at doing this, but each week I try to think to myself, well, on Monday I'm going to send them like a pitch. On Tuesday I'm going to send like a value email. On Wednesday another value email, or I might just have a day off, because you can't, you've got to give people a day off sometimes. Um,
Right.
but really, I think to myself each week, right, what kind of email is going to go out on Wednesday? What kind of email is going to go out on Thursday? And I'm not completely convinced that everybody does that.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's having a plan. And
Yeah,
again, Matt does talk about that in strategizing with your
yeah, he
business.
does actually. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't just be doing things blindly. And I mean, I'm even a culprit of that, where it's like, oh, I have an email on my list, and I should really do this instead of just, people are creatures of habit, and I think they like that. So yeah, oh, we're getting, today's the value email day. It's the video day. I
it,
like these days, to
you know
go.
what? It's kind of like I was in it's like I was in Fiji, for our recent Platinum Mastermind, and the internet was up, but it wasn't very fast, and it was
Yeah,
quite tough to do things. And
right.
I was kind of thinking to myself, I really don't want to just sit on my laptop and wait for Aweber to load up so that I can send an email out. And I thought I'll just give them a break for a bit, and I think sometimes, you don't want to get too frustrated with it. You can have days off, and you don't need to like email all over the weekend if you really don't want to, but you've just got to like do it enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, one last question for you, and
Okay.
what's what's kind of your on the horizon for you with, I guess, not really forecasting, but like what's the thing that you're working on let's say in the next 6 months to really help your business take it to the next level?
I think one of the things I've, kind of worked on, I don't know if you've seen them, but I've kind of got some professional branded videos that I've been working on,
Mm-hmm.
with a videographer of mine. We've done quite a bit of work together. And these are kind of simple things really that I'll send to my list. And basically it's like a video of me. It's a professional video where there'll be some B-roll stuff in there. And it'll be me saying, right, I'm going to give a lesson on why you should consider high ticket affiliate marketing.
Right.
And it's super professional. And they're only like 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'll be kind of giving them a call to action. But they're really good kind of things for my sales funnel, and I'm actually planning to get a few more kind of filmed quite soon. So that's one of the things. But other than that, I'm always looking at really. I think for a lot of us, it's all about how we can scale things up a bit and increase the amount of traffic we're getting each week. So I'm looking at, how many more kind of videos we can do, how many more articles. So I think the big thing with any business is you're constantly trying to scale things up so that your income is maintained but also improving. So that's one of the big things for me at the moment.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey man, you've given a ton of value in this call today, and I think all the listeners are going to really appreciate that. Again, man, it's great to always talk to you, to see that though there's some technicality with what we do, it's a few basic strategies, just putting your head down, taking action, and getting stuff accomplished. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, Nick, and kind of see what you're doing, and continue to provide value for the entrepreneur and affiliate marketing community. So I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Nate. Thanks for having me on, and I hope people have got a lot of value from it. It's kind of, a lot of the stuff I've, talked about when I've given some training at some of the events like Supercharge and
Mm-hmm.
even Home Business Summit. But
Yeah.
it's good to kind of give that for people who maybe haven't seen me at one of those events. So yeah, I hope everyone's got a lot of value from it.
Awesome, Nick. Well, keep up the good work. You'll be, again, the next probably week, you'll be crossing the $200,000 commission level. So look forward to that.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, you had to, even though I look at my numbers, I had to. I was a little bit surprised it was coming that close.
Yeah.
So yeah, really excited about that. Yeah.
Yep. Any day now, we'll be crossing. So we'll give you a holler. We'll let you know. Other than
That
that,
would be awesome. Yeah, yeah.
other than that, keep up the good work. We'll talk to you real soon. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Nate.
Thanks, Nick. We'll talk soon. Cheers.
Cheers.